Thanks, Kay. This is Laura, and I will jump in really quickly to thank both you and Meredith. And I would like to introduce Bob and Frank from the North Carolina Community College System to talk about an employability skills toolkit that they have introduced. I also would like to note that we are getting some questions that are coming in through the questions pane. And as we have time at the end, we will address them. Otherwise, I will post all of these questions into the links discussion thread, and we can continue the conversation there. Thank you. And now I'd like to turn it over to Frank and Bob.
Frank. Yes, thank you very much. It was great hearing from Kay and Meredith. That kind of opens our eyes to what you are up against, and I'm very grateful to be here, Laura. Thank you for inviting us. This is really exciting what you folks are doing. We're behind you 100% in North Carolina. I'm Frank Scuiletti. I'm an academic program coordinator in career and technical education programs such as construction, industrial, engineering, technologies, transportation programs.
And I'm Bob Witchger. I'm the State Director of Career Technical Education for our community colleges. And we're here today to share with you some practical resources that North Carolina put together. It's really an outgrowth of some work that Frank did several years ago with employers, and then we picked up on the need to build an employability skill packet that we could share with our faculty, and they could take a look at exercises that we've developed to actually bring home the employability skills to help bring them to life in the classroom. These were meant to be used for CTE teachers. They can be used for adult education teachers. And they're just some very practical PowerPoint presentations and slides that faculty can use and craft in their own curriculum area. And they call for reflective practices they go through and a chance for students to reflect on what they've learned in the exercises. I think the most important piece of this, Frank, is that you talked about 500 or 600 employers, and we came up with what they thought were employability skills that were missing, everything from interpersonal skills, communication. We didn't call them critical thinking skills, but we call them problem-solving skills and decision-making on the job, information processing, and adaptability.
Right, right. So slide, please.
Do we have to turn it, or are they?
Now, I'm not sure if this will open up, but we wanted to lighten things up if we could at all. We know how hard you folks are working and how challenging some of these changes are going to be for you.
There it goes. Can't hear it. But what is he saying, Frank?
Well, you're fired, you're fired. So obviously, one of our concerns was with our students. Now, Bob and I come from career technical education, and that puzzle that you showed was a great visual for career technical education. We come out of vocational ed, which then transitioned to career technical education. In other words, technical skills and academic skills. And now we're kind of seeing that there's still a piece missing, and that's the employability skills. So
I think we've done a pretty good job in our classes in teaching the technical skills, but how to integrate them into workforce so that they can gain and maintain the job is what we're about with these employability skills. Go ahead.
So we did a big super SIP, a curriculum improvement project in 2010 to 2012, and some of these things you folks will recognize are some of the outcomes that we expected from the super SIP, or curriculum improvement project, for 80 technical programs, AAS type programs, certificate programs, was the earning of national or aligning with nationally recognized credentials, building common technical cores, going back to the college and career readiness, but common technical cores, the important skill sets that are really fundamental, and industry clusters, ramp-ins and ramp-outs of programs to help folks get in and out of with technical training, and new and emerging skills in sustainability, energy, and then we had professional development. Well,
so Frank, you were busy trying to figure out how you can improve teaching the technical skills, how you can crunch the classes together. But what did you find out? What was the unexpected outcome of all this technical work?
Well, slide, please. So we expected to do all those, but there were unexpected consequences, if you will, or outcomes. And the folks that did the super SIP said, hey, we believe that technical training requires employability skills. So this isn't something that Bob and I came up with. It's not something anybody said, hey, you need some additional work to do. And so here's the employability skills that this collaboration of hundreds of technical instructors across the community college system.
So out of our 58
Yep.
community colleges and 100 school districts across North Carolina, we got together technical faculty in this area, and we brought a series of employers in throughout these 2 years as they looked at our curriculum. This is one of the things they said that was missing.
Right. So slide, please. So there's your 8 employability skills that we looked at. And I'm not sure if you've seen this pyramid before, but this is a competency model from the U.S. Department of Labor. And if you look down at the very bottom, these foundational skills that are critical to anybody's success, not just our students, but you and I, all of us, were these personal effectiveness competencies. And so employability skills aren't just that lower tier. They're the first 3 tiers, the gray tier that looks a little bit like a concrete foundation, the academic, and the workplace competencies. Those are the 3 areas where employability skills reside, because you're talking about math, the academic part that Meredith and Kay were speaking to, the language skills or communication skills. What is more fundamental to somebody's success in communication skills? But also, if you lack integrity, don't know what that means, or initiative, or don't know what that means, then you're going to get yourself, if you have the math or the language skills, you still might be a little bit short in the workplace. So we're talking about those first 3 levels. So slide, please. And are we GAD informed? I don't know if it's Meredith or Kate or both, and survey says, slide, please. We looked at it from the state, from the local, from the state, and the international level. So here we surveyed 1,000 employers, and guess what the skill gap was? Technical skills, Bob?
Nope.
Nope. So the soft skills that's the skills gap we're facing now.
And I think the product that we came up with was taking a look at how can we avoid duplicating the efforts of each curriculum area or each program of study area or pathway, coming up with employability skills. And we came up with this generic, and it's online, we'll tell you about it in a second, but it's a book with exercises, PowerPoints, and activities around these 9 or so career cluster, 9 or so employability skill areas.
Right. So slide, please. So there's a state. They did a national surveys. This is evidence-based, empirically driven. It's not just something our folks thought, well, you really need to do that. But we went back to the U.S. Department of Labor. We went back to the U.S. Department of Education. We went to our own surveys. Slide, please. And internationally. So it doesn't seem like it's a local issue. It's not a state issue. It's a world issue. Folks need to know how to get along together and need how to know what integrity, what initiative, what dependability means, that sort of thing. Slide, please. And there's one of the tools we use, the very tool you folks are talking about here. And if you look at it, it almost looks like an eyeball. In the very center is the pupil, the employability skills, and then the iris is 3 different sections. So we determine that we're good at technical skill training. We determine we need help in the academic area, as you're aware, with literacy, language arts, and math. Seems like we're always struggling with those. But there again, there's those personal competencies that are very important. People have to get along. People have to be able to communicate with one another, to work in groups. And that employability framework is excellent. We love it. It's a very good tool.
Next slide.
Slide, please. So I went down to Bob and said, Bob, can you help us out? We have, all of a sudden, we have 58 community colleges that are considering about working towards achieving the goals of how do we embrace employability skills, how do we embed it. We've embedded it in the curriculum standards, or what we call our blueprints, and Bob was kind enough to put one of his staff members along with me. We work with CORD, and this is that's the book that Bob is showing you. It's 500-something pages. It's a great toolkit. You have all the tools you need except for you're now deciding, hey, we have some additional tools we may need. Hopefully you'll have those tools in the toolkit, those additional wrenches and screwdrivers you need to be effective. And this is password protected, Bob. I mean, no one can use it but us. How does it all work?
No, it's actually open on our website, on the NCNet website, and you can download it. Probably you download it in modules because it's so big, and then they're PDFs, so you can print them out. You know, as I went through this, Frank, we'll go back. As Frank said, we looked at the theory behind what we were doing. We looked at what other agencies were telling us about employability skills. We looked at what the employers told us, and when you did that report out, Frank, to our curriculum committee, the aha moment was there. This employability skills piece is missing, and it could probably be developed generically that would have effect for all of our group. We went to a group that we currently were working with at the time, the Center for Occupational Research and Development, CORD, and Frank and Nancy from our team pulled together faculty associations at our colleges, employers, as they worked over a year to develop these exercises. When I look at the book, it reminds me, I don't want to date myself, of the old Pfeiffer experiential education materials that we used to use, where you'd actually have an introduction to the topic, you'd have some little lecturette that you could do, but also the exercises that are in here. Those are the important things that actually bring these skills home, and they can be fashioned for different areas of the curriculum. I think that's the beauty of the program. Frank, do you want to continue?
Slide. And so we're not going to open the book. You have the material there. Laura's going to provide it. But here's what we were up against. We thought we'd do it as a group rather, as a state rather than individuals. Why should we do it 58 times and more than 58 for maybe 10 departments per college? That'd be a big undertaking. Slide, please. So there's 8 modules on the employability skills that are listed. Slide, please. Each one begins, slide again. Each one is kind of duplicates all these different areas. So the table, section 2 is the whole book. It's 500 pages. The beginning is just the empirical data. The end is just appendices. Slide, please. But you can go through there, and it's a lot of hands-on components because we know CTE students do best hands-on. You're going to have a lot of activities there. You're going to have rubrics because you want to be able to measure it. Laura and Kay and Meredith, you have the expertise. I don't know how much of this is going to work for the college and career readiness standards. How much of this will impact that. I don't have that sort of expertise in your area. You'll decide that. But this is just the heading for the initiative and dependability. This is mirrored in all 8 different chapters.
And I think if you look at it closely, it's hard to see there, but each section has instructor presentation materials, classroom notes and lecture notes, a series of discussion questions that you can craft or you can use, handout materials that's for practical activities, a rubric to assess students on those topics, and then suggestions for adapting it in many of our technical fields.
Right. Very practical. Slide, please. And there was one area we focused in on, slide. And there's the toolkit. You've got the link to it. It's free for you to use. I asked Bob at one time, Bob, can they put their own name on there? I mean, it's not like we're protecting information. We're all in this for the same reason, to help people, and we want you to use it. There's no copyrights, Bob, is there?
We developed it with federal money, and it can be shared with federal money, and we're happy. It's very interesting across our state. Frank's probably done 20 of these presentations. We do a great 2-hour presentation. It's almost like a dog and pony show where we go back and forth. We throw some of the exercises out. We engage people in teaching it. The faculty come out and charge how to use this. We also took it to our one-stop career centers, and some of them are using it as practical on workshops that they do within what we call now NC Works Career Centers. It's our new branding, NC Works, and they're using those after they meet with students, and they have workshops during the week on different topics. So it has a variety of applicability.
So there it is. We hope you use it. It's free for you to use. You've got our contact information. Laura, thank you for including us. We're very supportive of the hard work you all are doing all across the country, and it's been a pleasure to be here with you.
We're anxious for you to infuse this in adult ed. We get many of our students in our Basic Skills Plus programs from adult ed that continue in our curriculum programs and finish with certificates, diplomas, and degrees. So to the extent that some of them can come prepared with some of these topics as they come in, It makes our job easier as we teach the in-depth technical skills and offer industry certifications.
Right. It may be something as simple as teaching these skills. It would be modeling it in the classroom, showing you've got to be up there in time and show up to class in time, et cetera, et cetera. So all available on different levels, but the toolkit is there for you to use. And thank you for your attention.
Getting out of the topic. Pull it back
Great.
in. I want to see a little mug.
Thank you so much, Bob and Frank and Kay and Meredith. We were almost perfect on our timing, just 2 minutes over. So I will quickly wrap up and really do hope people will continue this conversation about ways that the toolkit could be used in the adult education classroom, its connections to the CCR standards. And there were a number of questions that came in specific to Kay's math presentation and Meredith's literacy presentation that we will absolutely address on the discussion thread. So what you see here is a link to the webinar evaluation. So as you're leaving, you can either click this link directly from your screen. It has here the details you need to fill out the evaluation. We'll also be sending around the PowerPoint slides to all participants, so you can access the link from your slide deck. And if we could quickly show the previous slide. We'll leave you with just a couple of next steps. One is to, again, please visit the discussion thread, and the other is to check out here. You have the links to all of the resources that were presented today. So I would very much like to thank all of the presenters, to thank Heidi and other Octave staff, to thank Kratos and the Link staff for joining us, and all of you for your time today. So thank you so much, and please contact me with any questions. There is my contact information on the very last slide, and I can also respond to questions on the discussion thread. So thank you very much. I really enjoyed our conversation today.